And welcome here live at CMAX Southern Kitchen at 7420 West Sunset Avenue. It's our Wednesday edition of On the Hill. It's talking season, and we got more Razorback football to talk about. As today, we had a media availability with defensive coordinator Travis Williams and accessibility to junior linebacker Brad Spence and senior Anthony Switzer. Were made available to talk about just where they are as a linebacker group, where they are as a defense. And it just continues to be said, versatility, buy-in, and culture are still the three main words you keep hearing when we talk to these coaches and players, Demetrius. This is something I think just continues to grow. And as they get closer and closer, you can feel the anticipation that these guys are ready to play somewhat else. Now, tomorrow they have their final scrimmage, which we don't have access to, but we will meet with Coach Pittman and a few players following the scrimmage. But the linebacker core, very talented, very deep, and I think it's becoming even a bigger plus, as a lot of people thought, with the losses that they had last year in the portal and to graduation, that this was going to be a weakness. As we're getting prepared to let you hear some of what Coach T. Will and Switzer and Brad Spence had to say throughout the show. But, Demetrius, it's no longer, in my opinion, and I don't know if people heard me, even as last year started to wind down, I've always been real high on the linebackers that Coach Travis Williams has been able to bring to the university. If you look at the way that position is being recruited over the last 2.5 recruiting cycles, and they got some good ones coming in this upcoming 25 class. Demetrius, the future of linebacker play here, you have to feel comfortable if you're a Razorback fan or anybody in that program that's associated with the defense.
Absolutely. I think, you alluded to it at the assemblage of this defensive staff, and, you were one of the first people to come out and say that this all-black staff was going to have a huge impact of how Arkansas's defense not only looked but played, in the swagger and the type of players that they would, be able to go out and recruit. And, Danico alluded to that previously this week, talking about how, that was one of the key factors in wanting the reason why he wanted to transfer from Tennessee to the University of Arkansas.
Good point.
And I think, you heard that same energy in Spence and Switzer today when they talked about just the type of mentality that Travis Williams has, and just using defense as an offense, and just the ability to attack, and just the style of play that most defensive coordinators are not necessarily scared to, but it's just not their style of play. And I think a lot of younger players like that style of play that Travis Williams plays with.
I like the aggressiveness. I mean, you'll hear points, and there was a point made with Switzer and how he likes the aggressiveness. You didn't see a lot of zero coverage in year one, and that's what Coach has been known for. Now, granted, they did make a jump, 99 spots from the previous year in last year's defense. If they can make that type of jump in this season, and you have to think that it's not impossible with the experience that they bring back, Demetrius, and the talent, and this being year two in the system. When these guys speak, they kind of understand what the standard is, and that standard's not starters. Is something I think all of them have buy-in. I'll continue to say the buy-in in that football program, night and day, from what we've seen. Long time before, Sam, I hadn't seen a buy-in like this with the football program here. This team has an edge to it that I hadn't seen in a while, D.
Yeah, I think the difference is the confidence in the coordinators. I think when you look at previous staffs, even when you look at the year that Coach Pittman had the success, it was because the staff showed confidence in what they were doing and the direction they were going, and you saw it translate from the players to the coaches. And I think now you're seeing that similar thing where you're seeing these players really buy into these the coaches' systems. Even when you talk about these guys respecting Petrino the way they do, understanding that he's had a Lamar Jackson, understanding that he's had success here at Arkansas. And I think just the comfortability of knowing the guys that are leading me and giving me directions on a day-to-day, basis, I can trust their football intake and I can trust their ability to coach. And I think that's going to be the difference between a couple of those wins that we maybe lost last year that we'll be able to get this year.
Some of the linebackers I think you people might need to get used to hearing the names of. I mean, you're going to hear Spence. We're used to that name. Xavier Sori, get used to that name. Larry Worth, get used to that name. Carson Dean, get used to that name. Sanford, get used to that name. Bradley Shaw, get used to that name. Stephen Dix Jr., get used to that name. And get used to Anthony Switzer. I mean, the depth in that linebacker core is tremendous. And these aren't short, these aren't small guys weight-wise. I mean, you're talking about Switzer at 220, Worth at 6'4", 225 pounds. Brad Spence, 240 pounds. Carson Dean, 235 pounds at 6'3". Xavier Sori, 225 pounds at 6'3". Bradley Shaw, 235 pounds at 6'2", 6'1", 6'2". I mean, these are the linebackers that you got to have, and I think in year two you're starting to see on that side of football what these four coaches look for. And the common denominator, I've always told people, and Demetrius has heard this ad nauseum for years, you have to understand how to recruit the SEC. But if you've never been in it, it's hard to understand how to recruit to it. And when you look at that side of the ball, every single coach has either played or coached at previous stops prior to coming to the University of Arkansas. And you can see how that side of the ball is starting to change and how it's looking more SEC ready.
Absolutely. And I think, Travis Williams also talked about the relationship between the offensive staff and the defensive staff, and how just having Petrino on the staff has helped develop these defensive coaches in a way they haven't had to be challenged on a day-to-day basis.
Wouldn't you like to have? Okay, how much better would you be, Demetrius, if you're the defensive coordinator of Arkansas going against Bobby Petrino with a defense that you would coach? I mean, what would you think would be the advantages to having a guy like that to work with in practice?
I mean, you're dealing with a person that's when you talk about positions and responsibilities, he's had every responsibility that a football coach would have.
Right.
So when you talk about organization and you talk about structure and you talk about the accountability that he desires from not just his offensive room but his quarterback rooms, because that's what he focuses on. I think when you take that and then you look at just the experience of his NFL tenure and his college tenure, and there's so many different factors that shows you why he's proven and why he has had the success he has. And proof is in the pudding. And I think when you have a person of that magnitude on a day-to-day basis challenge you at what you say you want to be good at what you want to master, at what you desire to be the best at, I think it only helps you because he can show you things that guys typically can't because of the time that he's put in his craft.
Well, we're going to take a real quick break, but we caught up with defensive coordinator Coach Travis Williams, and here's what Coach had to say about his linebackers, and I believe this is day 13 of fall camp. And then we'll be back. We're live here at C-Max Southern Kitchen at 7420 West Sunset Avenue. Come on down. They got burgers, fish, po' boys, what all?
Everything.
Corn nuggets. Hush puppies. It's all down here, and like they say, it's just that good. It's on the hill, and it's talking season. We'll be back.
I'm going to study hall, practicing hard, practicing with that attitude, and get to the ball with bad intentions. If you have the standards, that's what a starter is to us. And the old days of just 11 guys going out there and say, okay, these are the starters, that's not true today. We tell the guys right now, we put a guy on the field and the rest of the guys that's out there with him say, oh, coach, you can't have him out there. Or they say, you know what, coach, bring him out. He can come enjoy the fun. Then that's a starter to us. So that's when you build in that depth to be able to put different people out there. But we don't have starters, we have standards, and it's the standards that's set by our head coach, and then we have defensive standards as well.
Brent Spence is just a really versatile guy. You guys have him, on the edge sometimes. I guess where do you prefer him, and what kind of player do you see him as?
I mean, he can do different things. Like we always talk about the more you can do, so not just playing one position. So the more you can do to help the defense. So you don't want to be out there and say, we can't run this particular defense because this particular person is banged up. So he brings different things for us, inside, outside, different things like that. So man, he's just so talented to where we could put him at different positions. So whatever that position may be is whatever fits the overall defense, if that makes sense.
I think one indicator that you guys like your numbers at linebacker, at least one day it looked like you guys were doing stuff with like 4 of them out there on the field.
And welcome back here live at C-Max Southern Kitchen here at 7420 West Sunset Avenue, where we're talking Razorback football. Just what, Demetrius? What is it, 15 days? What's the clock?
Let me. You know I gotta get the official time, man. You gotta get the official time. And if you want to check it out, go to onthehillmedia.com. Let me go ahead and get that quick plug in real quick. I said that website is onthehillmedia.com.
The lineup, I think, with defensive, I think they're pretty much set with the ones and the twos on defense. I think as well as offense. But what you're seeing now is maybe some of the extra guys that they're going to need, because it's going to be a long season. But when you look at this season, man, it favors Arkansas. I mean, it favors Arkansas. You get to play in the first 5 games, 5 different venues. The first 3 weeks you play in all 3 of the major time zones, and then when you talk about it, 5 of the last 7 games in the state of Arkansas with 3 of your final 4, with 3 in a row being here at Arkansas. If this team goes 6-2 and they have that break, Demetrius, I mean, what we talking about? How special of a season is this? And we're going to be joined here momentarily by Athletic Director Steve Jansky. Demetrius, hey, this AD, I mean, this guy, you kind of like being Steve Jansky right now.
Yeah.
The big dog in the state heading into football season.
He said today it's the best time to be an AD when you're undefeated in every sport. So, I mean, I'm trying to be like him when I grow up.
Hey, congratulations to Steve, as he had a big award. Now, he doesn't like to talk about this. The most humble AD.
So
but
you finna tell me something.
We're going to hype it up.
Tell me something.
He's not going to brag on himself.
Okay.
I mean, when you the man, why brag on yourself?
Hey,
his proof's in the pudding, because look at all what he does. I mean, his volleyball team, can they be beat? They're about to try for what, a 5-peat? I think that's what they're going for, a 5-peat. Football team, could they go undefeated? Girls basketball is going to be pretty special this season. Baseball, you got 2 Arkansas commits and a plethora of other potential college baseball players. I'm anxious to see boys basketball as well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good year for Fayetteville High Athletics. And by the way, if you need to check out and want to watch any football and basketball, you can go to our YouTube channel, On the Hill Media, for all Fayetteville football this year. It's a dog's world.
Pat, what's your outlook for this year on Fayetteville football?
I think this could be the best defense that Coach Casey Dick has had. I think offensively, they're not. You hate to lose Wilkerson.
I don't know. Hey, so
when you see these kids, I'm telling you.
Now, Pat, you say best defense.
I'm telling you. Hey, I think the AD might echo that.
It's been some.
I'm telling you.
Because
what
year? I mean, there was one year. It was maybe like 5 kids that went D1.
Hey, this last year they were special.
I mean, they
were special.
They were, and it kept off, state championships. But
when you have so many players coming back like Jaden Holt, Rhett Tidwell,
Big O,
the state's top receiver, and Jason Delamar, Charlie Graves, one of the guys I think is top junior, Tavion Taylor, and then the new Arkansas offer safety junior, Kendrick Williams. I mean, and then you have Parker Meese.
You know who I'm ready to see?
Big J.O. I forget Jackson Oliver.
No, I didn't forget. I shouted my boy. I can't leave Big J.O.
Look at you.
I'm ready to see my nephew though at running back. Lil Johnson. I'm ready to see my
Caleb Johnson.
I'm ready to see my little nephew. I'm ready to see.
Fayetteville does have a lot of questions, but I will say this: Parkview number 1. No, people, no.
So
I think Greenwood and Fayetteville are both better than Parkview. I'm just stating. I think if they were to play those 2 teams, it would result in a big fat L.
This year or last year?
I think this year and last year. keeping it real.
Stand on business now.
Yeah, I'm
stand
keeping
on
it
business
real.
now.
I'm gonna
You
keep
got
it
you
real.
got to stand on business when
But
you
see,
say
you have
comments
to
like that.
realize when I say that, you're talking about Fayetteville with Drake Lindsay last year. Now you're
yeah,
talking about
you right.
Garrett Odom, and then
You
you're
right.
talking about 2 years back to
You-
back with Kane Archer. So you're talking about
You right.
name me a college quarterback that the Patriots of Parkview are going to see in 5A football.
I just think
Can you name one?
no. But I think Parkview they're one of those teams that they don't have the headline namers, but I think their team they have
Man,
a
I'm
team
telling
full
you
of
this.
gamers.
I'm
They
telling you this: being in the state's capital has a bonus. To
I do not denounce that, Pat. But
it has a bonus to it.
if you say that there's talent and they're beating the talent in that,
No, that's true.
you can't argue
That's true.
that.
That's true.
You,
That's true. You can only play. You only can beat who's
Hey.
on your schedule. So, but still, I think
Hey.
number one, I don't believe so. But hey, we're gonna take a real quick break, and then we're gonna bring in Fayetteville Athletic Director Steve Jansky and see just how he's feeling about this upcoming season. It's on the Hill, and it's talking season live at C-Max Southern Kitchen at 7420 West Sunset Avenue. We'll be back.
Linebackers happen to be out there, great. If it's 2 linebackers, great. If it's 1 and we're in a dime set, great. So, but it's our job to try to figure out, okay, how can we play our best guys? So it's like you can take Landon for instance. There's no need for Landon to be on the sideline next to me, So we're just trying to. I know you talked about linebackers, but it's my job to kind of figure out where those pieces fit. And that's what we're trying to do, just trying to figure out, okay, what's best for the overall defense.
We've you mentioned last time we talked to you that you don't call them the mic the way you call them the money and the mic, but what body types? I know they're interchangeable and
Right, they're
but what body types? for
Yeah,
each
the
one?
body type. So they interchange. So we call it the Mac and the money. Now the game has changed where you don't just have a Mac. You got to have. So that's the old school Mike Will. So just being able to do some different things. So everything is so spread out now. You got to have guys that can run. So you could take a Brad Spence. He could play the Will or the Mac. You could take Sawyer and vice versa, or whoever you want to put out there. So we try to teach them both, so they're able to do both. So we do a train, but really both guys are in the box and got to take on blocks and different things like that. But you want guys with length. You want length. That's the first thing everybody around the country gonna look for: length, size, and guys that can run. But then you get us Anthony Switzer, that's right at 6 foot, but he's a heck of a football player. You always like, man, you know what? I want a football player. What does that mean? Man, is he always around the ball? Do he love football? So you have different body types. So you got to just make sure whatever you get, they love football. And obviously you're gonna profile and say, okay, I want him 6'2" or whatever. But just make sure the guys you get can play.
We've heard from a couple guys that Bradley Shaw is a freshman that stood out. Just what have been your first impressions of him?
Yeah, you won't even know he's in the room. Doesn't say much, very mature, very smart. His high school he came from, Hoover, Alabama. They've done a great job just coaching him up. Like he has a really good FBI. He has a really good football IQ and it comes easy. So we're dual training him as well. He's a kid that has a bright future. He's doing some really good stuff.
You guys,
And welcome back here live at C-Max Southern Kitchen, located here at 7420 West Sunset Avenue, where we're joined by the athletic director and main man of the Fayetteville High Bulldogs and that athletic program, Director Steve Jansky. What's up, my man?
How you doing? Always good to see
Hey,
you.
we want to also make a note that C-Max will be doing a lot of Fayetteville Bulldogs athletics with us here on the Hill Media. And, I mean, we've been Jansky's been a big-time supporter of us. How long? We're going in year 6, ain't it, Jansky?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, my goodness.
Ever since that one night we had to pull you away from the evil empire up there north.
Hey, there's a story behind that. So I'm working for this other company, doing this other school, and we're at Jansky's gym. So I'm setting up, and and I see my guy in the purple at the end of the court just staring at me, shaking his head. So I go over. Jansky's looking at me. He goes, "What's up? What are you doing? What are you doing?" I said, "Well, Jansky." He said, "Man, that's the wrong color." So, needless to say, long story short, timing hit right, and the rest is history.
Yeah, and it's just a great job that you guys do, Demetrius. Just everything, how you highlight kids, how you highlight our coaches, our programs. You're fully invested. but you also put a great event on. I mean, it's a joy to watch. It's very informative. If you love following the Razorbacks and the Bulldogs, boy, you just watch your stuff, man.
Fayetteville High, Jansky, and year 6, I believe, with Casey. And it wasn't so rosy those first 2 years. I mean, there was an all-time low point. You and I continue. We kind of revisit every now and again. But since that, the last 3 years under Coach Dick have been absolutely phenomenal. 2 state championship trips, 30-7 overall, 2 conference losses, 2 conference championships. But this year could be even better. I mean, talk about what you've seen this program, how it's grown with Coach Dick at the helm.
You know, if you remember back, we had some turnover with our head coach position in our football program. Right. No one's fault, just different reasons. You know, better job opportunity over here, or Coach Blankenship going back home to Tulsa for grandkids and stuff like that. So all very good reasons. But at the end of the day, it's hard to have any type of consistency in your program. Right. It's hard to develop trust when the change is occurring, because it's not just like it is in college. It's a little bit like that in high school, where it's not just a head coach change. You got position coach changes. Good point. So it's just hard to get a program and sustain a program at a high level. However, Casey Dick, what he has done, and what we knew when we interviewed him 6 years ago, is that his upside, he didn't have a lot of experience,
good point,
you know, but his upside, you could see it in the interview, that he was going to be a kid magnet, that he was going to invest in his community, that he was going to bring coaches that cared about putting kids first. You saw that. Now, what we've seen since then is he's hired a phenomenal staff.
Absolutely.
But there's also some pluses, some bonuses, some blessings that we got from Casey that we didn't know that we were going to get. His wife and his family. I mean, they are some of the biggest supporters of Fayetteville football and Fayetteville athletics. They're at every game. They're totally supportive of kids and families. They do so much that we don't hear about, and they don't advertise, especially around the holiday season. They do so much fundraising and go deliver these things for some of our families in our community. So you couple that Casey with who he is, who his family is, and now consistency of being here going into a 6th season, and then you add the tradition of Fayetteville athletics.
Right.
Man, you got a very special combination right there, and I think we're seeing the fruit of that labor. We knew that we felt that this is where we would be, but it was a rough start, and it was a rough start because it takes time to develop a deep-rooted program the way Casey has done, the way our other coaches have done in their programs. Jessica Phelan just won her 4th straight. It takes time to do that. So very excited about where we are. He's right. It's a great time to be an AD. Everybody's undefeated. It's just, you know, you got a smile on your face. You kind of walk with a little swag, because, you know, life is good right now. But even furthermore, what an exciting future for our fall programs, Coach. I mean, we got a chance to be really good in all of our programs, and so it's exciting.
Talking with Fayetteville Athletic Director here live at CMAX Southern Kitchen at 7420 West Sunset Avenue. Here on the Hill, it's talking season. But now I want to talk to you from a coach's perspective. You've been a high school coach, coached in the college game as well, Steve. Coming off of a 13-0 season, from a coach's perspective, and you know, even more so a head coach's perspective, what are some of the things that you think Casey and that staff have to kind of navigate through?
You know, I've never been a part of a season like they had, an unprecedented. So, you know, Fayetteville's been around since 1871, been playing football for decades upon decades upon decades. But through that entire time, you've never had an undefeated season through the conference that we've gone to playoffs and then win the state championship. So I really don't know what that kind of obstacles that they would have in front of them. But what I do know is that the enthusiasm of our program right now is at an all-time high.
Yes.
And it's not as in sometimes, hey, I just want to be a part of that because they get a lot of attention, or I want to change. You have these guys, these kids that want to be better than they were last year.
Good point. Good
And
point.
that's what's exciting. I just heard you guys talking about the defense. I agree. And my son was on the defense last year as a senior and was a good football player. And me and him were talking. This defense can be not a little better. It can be a lot better.
Yes.
And it's because they have so much depth now.
Good point.
It's I think the hardest problem that the coaching staff might have, and again, I'm speculating outside looking in, is how are you going to get everybody on the field in a significant amount of time?
Right.
But this
Good
coaching
problem to
staff,
have.
it's a good problem to have, and this coaching staff will figure it out. I mean, they will figure it out. And so the practices that I got to witness this year, they're moving along well. I think the other factor that's going to make our defense pretty special is the philosophy and the method of operation that our offense is going to be under.
Right. I like
you know,
Coach
I
D.
love Drake Lindsey, and he was maybe one of the best quarterbacks to ever come through Fayetteville.
Good point.
You know you got a good quarterback when it's 4th and 1 on a 28, and Jay Wilson calls a vertical route. You're like, what are we doing?
Absolutely.
And completes it.
Yes.
You know? So, but at the same time, you know, they were on the field quite a bit
Right,
because
right.
either we would score quick. Now, I think it appears that we might have more of a balanced and more of
I would
a
agree with that.
strong running attack
I would agree with that.
what Odom can bring to the table, and as far as his running game ability and the running backs, the stable of running backs that we have.
A lot of them.
So now, controlling the ball and controlling the clock, it could be a huge factor.
Hey, this is spoken like a coach right here. He breaking it down.
So, yeah, I mean, if you have a defense that is completely and totally rested and looking for opportunities to get on
Right.
the field because your offense is not only scoring, but they're eating up some clock, oh, my gosh. That could be a game changer.
Last question, Jansky. For people that haven't been out to Harmon Field, explain to the fans that are thinking right there on the edge and wanting to come out and be a part of high school football, why is Harmon Field such a special place to come and enjoy football Friday
That's a
night?
great question. That is really a great question. I think that's something we need to talk about more and promote a little bit more because there's so many different reasons why. Look at this, just delivering food. I knew this place was going to be good when I walked in and smelled the
Look at
aroma. Oh my gosh, that's a plate. Goodness gracious. Yeah, hey, anytime you want me to do an interview, I'm here.
Hey, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it at all.
that
Don't worry
looks
about it
amazing.
at all.
But I think what makes Harmon Field very special, one, you got to start with the venue. There's been football games being played there for a long, long time.
Right.
So a lot of history, a lot of great players have played there. The backdrop of the stadium is kind of sunk down and reminds me of the swamp a little bit. Everything's kind of built up around it.
Yes.
It's a great venue. When you look on the sidelines, you have anywhere between 80 and 100 cheer and dance and sports broadcasting, sports medicine. I'm sorry about that. Got excited about seeing the food.
Hey, that's chicken and fish right
Golly, it
there, and
looks
the
amazing.
hush puppies.
Oh, it looks amazing.
That's big
So
time.
you have so many different student organizations and groups being involved. Now with the addition of our Sports Wellness and Academic Center, the SWAC.
Right.
Oh my gosh, you have Advanced Energy that donates fireworks that are fired out. I mean, it's literally, and me coming from my college coaching, it's kind of got a college atmosphere to
It
me.
does. It
you
really
know,
does.
Pat. I mean,
It
it's
really does.
and you're going to see great talent participate when it's time to play. And then at halftime, you got great performances from our band. So it's just kind of on Friday night, if we're hosting a game, you're going to see great competition.
Right.
You're going to see the future of college athletics with some of these guys that are
Dang.
playing.
It
Just like
just
Drake
seems
Lindsey.
like there's a college player each and every
Each
week
and every
that
year.
we get a chance to talk
And
about.
it goes back to the Allen brothers. It goes back to Dre Greenlaw. I mean,
Right.
it just goes and goes and goes. So you know that someone out there, and probably multiple student athletes out there, are not only going to be big-time all-state players for Fayetteville Bulldogs, they're going to go off and have potentially great college and professional careers. So we try to take care of our fans by playing great music and keeping it hyped and having great concession
Right.
stands. And I think it's all that, Pat.
You think
know?
we can put some of that stuff in the concession stand?
Oh my gosh! Well, if we don't, I don't know if they're going to watch the game. They're going to be like me. They're going to be knocking stuff over to go get Goodness.
Well, Steve, we want to take time to thank you for
Yep.
coming on. Hey, once again, this is Steve Jansky, the athletic director at Fayetteville High School. Come out, enjoy a night with the Bulldogs. And you know what I always say, it is a dog's world.
Yep.
We'll be back with more. We're live at CMAX Southern Kitchen. It's on the hill, and it's talking season. Hey, guys, this is Pat Jenkins of On the Hill Media and voice of Fayetteville High Bulldogs Athletics. Make sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's On the Hill Media. Make sure you hit the bell for all notifications. As we say, let's get it.
Very similar from the jump that your defense made at UCF when you first got there. Were there any similarities, in terms of the development between your first season at UCF and your first season at Arkansas?
Yeah, it's just your first year there. You're teaching the defense that is new, but I think the main thing is getting the guys to believe in you and what you're saying and getting to the ball and playing with that type of mindset that you're looking for. And as you continue to go, they could just understand the concepts and what some things that you're trying to do. I just think when you cut on the film, you want the opponent to see, okay, they play hard. You want the fans to see, okay, they play hard. And that's our job to do that. Now, we got to coach them, right? So I always tell them before we even go out on the field, every mistake that you make belongs to me except your effort and stupid penalties and you being tough, right? So if you mess up in the game, I didn't coach it right. So let your hair down and go play football. So it kind of takes that stress off the young man. But the main thing is just making sure the guys get to the ball and have fun. And it's up to us as coaches to continue to teach them each week. And that's what we try to do.
And piggybacking off that, what's the key to the next step, for the defense? So it's not like a stagnation, but more improvement this year.
Absolutely. I mean, just being greedy. Like, don't leave any meat on the bone. The great defense is like, just go out there and just be greedy. Like, they want it all. Like, okay, yeah, we made a jump. That's awesome. But I could also point at games like, okay, no, we could have played better, right? So it's my job to get them to play better, right? And their job to continue to get better. But just having that defensive, like, you know what? Don't give up nothing. I don't care if it's a turnover and we got to go out on defense. Like, we're like first responders. Like, we got to put the fire out. That has to be our mentality. Don't make any excuse. Our job is to play defense and stop them from scoring. So, man, go out there and just be greedy. Don't give them anything. So now you can take that next step from there.
Hi, Coach. I got one more. Is there anything you learned last year about yourself? I know you're still kind of early in your career as a defensive coordinator. What was something maybe that you learned about yourself first year at Arkansas?
One thing, well, I don't know. I kind of know myself. Man, football is football. They got 11, we got 11. Got to get them lined up. Now, if they come out at 12, I don't have an answer for that. They come out with 12 guys. But that was my first time up in the booth, and you could kind of see everything. And it's like calm. You don't really hear the fans or anything, so you could kind of make calls. And that's great. But I miss being in front of the players. I miss, like, being in front of them and if it's a timeout, looking in their eyes and getting things fixed or encouraging them and different things like that. But Jake Trump is in the press box with me. He was like, man, you always like this. So I try not to be emotionally inconsistent. I'm like this. So I try to be anyway. But I don't know if I learned anything about myself. I did see a different view from being in the press box, if that makes sense to you.
Coach Pittman was in here talking about how he's maybe changed how he handles things on a day-to-day basis, a little more patient and calm. I guess working with him, how have you seen him develop now that it's your second year here?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought he was a patient and calm person, to be honest with you. He's a player's coach. He's a guy that's really, you're around him, he's a deep thinker. He just doesn't react. He just doesn't react. So when I'm watching him, I see how he kind of put things together in his mind, different situations, on the field, off the field, just different situations. So I see that and I soak all of that in. He's not a guy that just reacts a lot of times. He really sit there and he's kind of proactive when he's thinking. He thinks before he responds. So I always thought he was more like this, than being here and there, So that's just from my view.
You've got a couple of really versatile guys in Switzer and Worth. I'm curious, where do you see them fitting in? Do you want them to zero in on one position, or do you see them playing multiple spots throughout the season?
They're playing multiple spots. Just trying to build that depth. The more you can do is just kind of what we talk about with the guys, and they're playing all over the place. They're playing all over the place, and we got to find okay, what is that first spot, and then what would be that secondary spot for them. But both of them, I mean, I'm talking about both of those guys. The reason we're able to do that, both of them are really smart football players. Even Steven Dix, really smart football IQ. So it allows us to do different things with those guys.
I was going to ask you about Steven Dix. Kind of what went in, how did y'all identify him? Kind of what went into the recruiting process of getting him here?
Oh, I didn't identify him. He jumped in the portal. I didn't know anything about him. We looking to get linebackers. We reached out to him and got him on a visit, and he committed. I didn't know him from a can of paint. Didn't know him. So I just, once he did it, reached out. He had some other visits set, and you know how I go, okay, we got to get him first. Because a lot of times if you don't get him first, you won't get him at all. So we got him down first, and he enjoyed it. And he saw himself wanting to be here and wanting to play here, and the rest is history.
Yeah, he's a guy that was very productive. I guess at Marshall last year. What do you like about his game?
You know what? He's strong. He is that Mac backer in the middle that commands and get people set. Very, very smart, really good football IQ. You know, he's that plugger. Really good kid diagnosed in the box. You know, and when you see him, I don't know if y'all saw him. I mean, he looks like a linebacker. Like he's put together, like a creative player out there. So that's what he looks like. But very smart. Quiet, but he asks the right questions. And he can run. He can run straight line. That's the one thing people don't know now. He can run. So I'm glad we got him.
How would you say Sori's progressed from when you got him? Obviously came from a big time program at Georgia. Is he ready to kind of be your lead guy there, you think?
We're a big time program here too, by the way. But so when he came in the spring, so I've been knowing Sori for a long time. I recruited him in high school and all that when he jumped in the portal. Glenn Schumann is a good friend of mine. He's a defensive coordinator over there. I called him about him. He helped me with him, and he didn't want to lose him, but it got to a point the kid, he was like, okay, I need to go somewhere else. And Glenn was like, nah, he's unbelievable player. Unbelievable person. So he's been awesome. So humble. Like he said all the time, like, man, I'm so happy to be here. Like he's happy. But watching him progress from the spring to now is just, he's taking another step, another leap, because now he's understanding the defense. In the spring, he's just running around playing football. Now he's understanding why we're calling different things. And he's been a good get for us.
Well, more about the ends, if that's okay. Just obviously, we know Landon; he's big time. How do you feel about the ends as a group? And then I guess I want to make sure I say Junkage. I know he was out, but he's been back. Kind of how's he fitting in?
Yeah, Anton. He
welcome back as we close it out today with the AD of Fayetteville. I'm telling you, people, he's addicted, and you should be too. 7420 West Sunset Avenue. Come on down, get you some. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed. I'm telling you.
Pat,
we're going to be here tomorrow with
Pat,
more.
I enjoyed myself today.
Football talk.
Today was a great episode behind the scenes.
For Demetrius and myself, we're out of here. It's once again, come on down and see Chris and the family at CMAX Southern Kitchen. And it is just that good. For myself, Demetrius, it's on the hill, and it's been talking season. And you know what we say. Let's get it.
Let's get it. Man.